Hello guys, thank you for checking out the channel. Today I'm going to talk about um, solar powered watches, automatic watches, and quartz watches, the pros and the cons, which one is better, if there's one that's better. Before I start, if you can like and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. So with the advent of solar powered watches, which is this Citizen watch I have here, I did a review on it. Um, it's really kind of interesting how things have kind of turned out. Before, you only really had quartz and automatic. So basically, I really like the solar watch. I like the fact that it doesn't require a lot of maintenance. I don't need to worry about changing a battery. And it will last me, as long as I could reasonably expect it to last. As I did in the review of this watch, they say this watch will last, indefinitely. I know it can definitely last 10 years, not the specific model. I'm hoping the specific model, but just the Citizen Eco Drive. And I know changing a battery is not a lot of maintenance. I'm not advertising Fossil, by the way. This is just a quartz watch that I have. So changing the battery on a quartz is not a big deal. It's not a lot of maintenance, but it's something that you're going to have to do. And I'm the type of person, if I think that I need to go somewhere, ask somebody to do something, to pay them to do it, it's like the farthest thing from my mind. Of course, now, with the availability of the tools that are needed to open these screw case backs up and replace the battery, in most watches anyway, it's pretty straightforward. So that's not such a big deal. But, I like the idea of not having to worry about getting a watch serviced. Now, as the old saying goes, it's better to have and not need than to need it and not have it. My thinking is along those lines when it comes to watches. I don't like the idea of depending on a battery, even though if you're fortunate, you can get a watch that will run off of a battery for about 5 years. And I think that's plenty, for what it is. Automatics, same thing, depending on what type of automatic you have, what brand, movement you have. All those things will fall into place. But because there's so many more moving parts here, there's a higher chance of something going wrong. Of course, that's relative. I mean, there are movements that are really good that I don't have, that I can't afford, but that they do exist, and they're supposedly, like, you'll never have to worry about having them serviced, within a few years anyway. We're talking about 5 years or more. But I like the solar powered because I don't have to worry about, look, they're all mechanical. They have moving parts, electronic parts, they could all break. But I like the fact that this has been proven to go the distance. We're talking about 10 years. That's a long time without doing any type of service, changing a battery. If you happen to live in an area where, you might be prone to disaster or blackouts, anything like that, depending on if you're from the States, if you live in an area where you live is subjected to like hurricanes, you might have to deal with being days on end without power, not having a place to charge your phone. And of course, for all the preppers out there, if you are going to be in the end of a world scenario, you don't want to have to worry about where you're going to get a SR 2030 battery to put in your watch, or much less a repair person to fix an automatic watch. This would be the best option in that case. Even with like smartwatches, you know, you can recharge them, but you know, who wants to deal with that if you're in an emergency situation? I would opt for the solar powered watch, but I do own a few automatics and a lot of Quartz watches. This is the only solar powered watch that I own. I am looking at other ones. I'm definitely looking at Seiko. I'm also looking at a micro brand called Theirs, I believe it is, which, you know, I'm a little excited about. It's too bad more makers don't look into getting into solar powered. Now this is a Quartz watch. It's just the Quartz, the battery is recharged by the sun. There's a solar collector under the dial, and that's how the watch operates. I do like automatic. I actually prefer automatic. To me, I prefer automatic in the sense of its, you know, aesthetics, the fact that I'm wearing such a complex piece of machinery of human ingenuity on my wrist. I mean, you know, it's something satisfying to the psyche, and I think a lot of you guys watching this would probably agree with me. I mean, even if it wasn't for the case back, you know, I just knowing that, you know, there's a spring in there, you can wind it up and, you know, put it on your wrist, and as long as you wear it daily, you won't have to worry about it powering down or losing power. Of course, a lot of automatics, you know, in a certain price bracket, well, actually, as far as I know, most of them will not keep as good time as, you know, a Quartz will, unless it's a chronometer. Not 100% sure on that. But I have noticed since my review of the Spinnaker Bradner that it's just a little fast. It's nothing like major, but I've noticed it's been running quite a while, and it's almost a minute ahead. I haven't readjusted it, but I will. We'll end up readjusting it. But as far as, you know, wearing a piece of art, having something that you're proud of on your wrist, something as sophisticated as an automatic movement, you know, the feeling of wearing it is not going to be found in this. Even though I think this is more practical, I think this is good for an emergency situation. You know, your phone will die, your smartwatch will die. This will keep running. You'll be able to tell time accurately. But in terms of simplicity, nothing will beat just a plain old Quartz watch. I do think they should be phased out. I don't know if that will ever happen, but you know, simple replace of the battery. You don't have to worry about you know, small moving pieces, or, you know, movement breaking, or you know, well, there are no bad things with this that I can think of initially. You know, the only thing I can think of is something happens to the solar collector, if it's damaged, maybe through an impact, or if water happens to get into it. This is rated, I think, for 20 atmospheres. Let me see, actually, it is just down. It is 10 atmospheres. So that's plenty, I believe. 10 atmospheres is, let me just take a look at it real quick. I believe it's 100 meters. 100 meters or so. So if somehow it did get damaged due to water, I mean, that's something that can happen, but to be honest, that's something that can happen with this too. But, you know, the simplicity of the inner workings of the watch, there's no solar collector here, so that's something less to worry about, you know, with something like this. But as far as something that I feel proud to wear on my wrist, something that is generally reliable, I would say this. But let's say, you know, apocalypse scenario, I won't be choosing this watch. I'll be choosing this one. This is a much simpler watch as far as the internal mechanics. There is a solar collector, so that means it will, recharge and work indefinitely. And as I said before, I like to have something and not need it than to need it and not have it, if that makes any sense. I know that's a little bit like, maybe not reasonable, but they do make them. They do make solar watches, and they do sell. And I think they sell because people like that. They like the independence from, having to do the service you might have to do in these watches in a watch like this. But am I saying that this is the best watch? No, because I do wear automatics as well. I actually prefer automatics, but for a different reason, as I like the solar powered watch. So there's really no right or wrong answer. I think everybody should have a solar power watch, a nice one, maybe something that you're not afraid to get damaged, or you can play sports with, a bit more robust than perhaps an automatic would be. There's a lot of good automatic movement manufacturers, Seiko, ETA, and the list goes on. But for the purpose of this video, is it solar, automatic, or quartz, which would be the best watch? In a practical way, I'm gonna go with the solar power. And this is just, this is open to debate. You might think differently, and that's okay. I just wanted to share my thoughts about it because I found it interesting. But in terms of wearing something that you feel good about, that's a piece of, history. That's a work of art, really. That's what these are. I definitely like automatic. I love automatic, as a matter of fact. And that's it. If you guys feel differently, or you agree, leave a comment. I would appreciate it. Also, if you can like and subscribe again, I appreciate it. See y'all on the next video.